Tourism is an important element in the Gambia's economy, accounting for an estimated 20% of the country's GDP. Stakeholders in the tourism sector have long sought to improve the country's tourism offer. After months of in-depth study and evaluation by international consultants to produce a draft report, stakeholders in the tourism sector validated the long list and shortlist report on potential tourism sites. The long list report, which assessed the demand and potential of various destinations, is in alignment with the objective of diversifying the Gambia's tourism sector and the country's tourism policy and strategic plan in line with national development priorities. Momodu Sise, the project director of the Tourism Diversification and Resilience in the Gambia project, said, the validation of the proposed shortlist of sites is a crucial step in the process of assessing and selecting tourism sites for potential development into viable products.
The World Bank, in collaboration with the government of the Gambia, established a public-private dialogue mechanism to devise an action plan for COVID-19 tourism recovery. And part of that, the stakeholders gathered together to list some of the key tourism sites that they wanted to evaluate in order to actually determine what is the value and what sort of investment might be needed to make them products for Destination Gambia. A short list of 12 sites were presented at that time in 2021. But during the tourism diversification and resilience in the Gambia project phase, these sites were extended during discussions when the World Bank missions were coming into the Gambia. And the sites were further expanded until we had over 50 sites. And then this was formed as part of the final TOR when we were selecting a farm to do this evaluation. We are pleased to inform you that right now we are at the stage where we have a long list report as well as potential sites that should be shortlisted and developed into investment packages for tourism. We want you today to be very frank in terms of reviewing the report. We have already had a lot of support and appreciation from the different partners, and we have received a number of comments, some of which we have already sent to the consultants.
Organizers say the validation and review process considered a variety of factors, including the economic potential, cultural significance, and environmental impact of each site. Dr. Adamaba, representing the consulting firm Kios in the Gambia, elaborates.
I'm really happy that I was selected to be part of the team. We are really excited about this project, and we have tried to do our best to bring all the requirements that we were told to do by the PIU through a terms of reference. This is really a good project that we all wanted to have, because not only did we identify, by the way, the TOR, as Cesar said, was about more than 50, around 51. But in the end, we came up with about 64 sites that we looked at. We were able to use tools like the ODK Collect, and that allowed us to actually be sending all the information back to Italy, where the Kios team is based, and they use that information to actually use GIS to put it in the map. All the sites that we have visited, we have done that. At the same time, we had a geo-tracker, which actually helped us in mapping out the distances that we were. And this was a good tool because it made the base in Italy to monitor what we were doing and make sure we went to all the sites. And another thing that we were meant to do, according to the TOR, is actually throughout the 7 bands that we were given, to at least select one. And at the same time, we were also told not to leave any region out. So we had to endeavor to make sure that was actually done and completed in good faith.
Aissatou Dramé, Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, and Kebanjai, the Executive Secretary of the Travel and Tourism Association of the Gambia, TTAG, respectively, both hailed the efforts of the Tourism Diversification and Resilience in the Gambia project.
This endeavor, funded by the World Bank through the Tourism Diversification and Resilience in the Gambia project, underscores our commitment to fostering sustainable growth and development in the tourism industry. The journey to this validation workshop today commences with the formidable task of navigating through a vast array of over 60 potential tourism sites scattered through the Gambia, guided by a clear mission to identify and prioritize locations with the greatest potential for development. The consultants embark on the meticulous evaluation process, leaving no stone unturned in a quest of fully document the hidden potential of the tangible assets of our nation. Through a comprehensive scoring methodology and collaborative engagement with key stakeholders, we ensure that every voice was heard and every perspective considered, from cultural and natural heritage assets to sites of historical significance. Of efforts were dedicated to recognize the diverse array of experience that the Gambia has to offer. To recognize that these 10 locations are not merely destinations unto themselves, but serve as a catalyst for broader regional development. As we transition into the final phase of this assignment project, we welcome further discussion, refining of the recommendation made, recognizing that our collective efforts will pave the way for a more vibrant and sustainable tourism industry in the Gambia.
This report has come at the right time because the GTB over the years has tirelessly been looking for products that can be added on to improve the diversification of our tourism. This report is going to open up the country in terms of, I'm looking at river transportation, which is one of the most underexploited facilities that we have in this country. And we need to open up the river because there are many things that are of attraction that we can use to sell this country. Hopefully, we will accept the report as outlined by the consultants.
Dr. Simon Woodward, one of the consultants involved in the project, gave an online presentation on some of the report's findings.
In terms of where we are, we're almost at the end of phase B of what is a 3-phase project. So we've assessed the various destination opportunities and we've given you our recommended prioritization, which will then feed in to a later in-depth assessment. So the objective and the activities for this phase, we are halfway through week 20. So that's almost the middle of well, it is the middle of the 40-week scheduled format. If you're looking on the screen, the big white box with the red writing and the red border, we're just below that in those red boxes where we are consulting stakeholders on the draft report. So we're in the perfect situation. In other words, we've not lost time. And one of the other interesting issues that was discussed and came out of that workshop was that we shouldn't focus too much on whether or not sites are currently accessible, because it was felt that that would give far too much priorities to locations in and around the existing TDA. During the same period, we held various thematic workshops, community meetings, and consulted a number of individuals. In terms of the consultations, nearly 200 people have been involved so far in providing us with information, either during individual meetings, at one of the thematic workshops where we had more than that, or some 90 people represented. We were asked to add in Gimnack Island and Nuimi National Park as well, up in the north towards the border with Senegal, which took us to 61 locations. But we were also encouraged to add more sites if we came across them during our site visits. And in fact, 3 other locations were identified. So that gave us a total of 64. However, when we did the work and the visits, so Lucy, Adama and I met online, we went through that again. We then went away and scored every one of those 63 locations against 19 criteria, giving it a score of 1 to 5. I'm very happy to say that the statistical test confirmed there was no bias at all in the scoring, and that whilst there were some differences, they were not statistically significant. So I think we can be comfortable with the results that we will present to you. That was the outcome of the evaluation process that provided the foundations for our more detailed discussions at which we came up with the short list. We covered both sides of the river, almost up to the eastern border with Senegal. So a lot of ground was covered over those 3 weeks, and 86 other people were interviewed either on the road, when we were visiting particular locations. So we've been able to gather a wealth of views from all parts of the country, and from both male, female respondents, the youth, younger people, as well as other citizens. And we visited almost 50 different locations and communities doing this research. So it really has provided a wealth of information. The thematic workshops were held throughout March in, again, a number of different locations. These were generally led by my colleagues Lucy and Adama, and covered both some of the main themes like crafts, like water sports, parks and wildlife, but we also felt it important to talk to tour operators, bird guides, tourist guides, NGOs, development agencies, and so on. And then when we discussed the inception report, we were asked to add in Gimnack Island and Nuimi National Park as well, up in the north towards the border with Senegal, which took us to 61 locations. We then went away and scored every one of those 63 locations against 19 criteria, giving it a score of 1 to 5. We then added the scores together to provide one single score, which I've called here the overarching evaluation. I'm very happy to say that the statistical test confirmed there was no bias at all in the scoring, and that whilst there were some differences, they were not statistically significant. So I think we can be comfortable with the results that we will present to you. This is the final ranked list that we came up with. Kiang West National Park coming out top with 265. Historic Georgetown, which you will remember is that tentative World Heritage Site, coming out second. So in terms of the shortlist, we were required by the terms of reference to select at least one location per local government region, which were UNESCO World Heritage Sites, sites of historical significance, sites of cultural significance, parks and wildlife. We're recommending, if that goes forward, that it's combined in a cluster with the Kankrang Museum, also in Janjanbureh, and then nearby Cunkilling Forest Park and the Kingmo Samola too. Massive Stone Circle's World Heritage Site, lots of opportunity there. Some interesting ideas we have for Kotu Craft Market, Albreda and Jufre. Probably no surprise that's on a short list. Fort Bullen, the fort and the museum, Basamen's Waving Site, combined with the Alan Harry Pottery Site, we think could make a really interesting investment opportunity in the far east of the country. And then finally the Kenya Jamengo Holy Site. So that's the list that we have proposed.
They were able to, pinpoint over 61 sites. But reading through the report, we realized those sites are just, attractions scattered throughout the length and breadth of the country. Some are cultural, in nature, some are heritage oriented, some are, tangible, intangible, some are man-made. But what came out clearly is that, we are very deficient in terms of tourism products. So that makes this consultancy actually very important. The 10 are the ones that have the greatest potential. Now that is very important. People want to travel, to study people's way of life, to indulge in so it's more of a specialized nature. Tourism is very specialized nowadays, and it is very individualistic. People now are becoming very sophisticated. We all know this because trends change. Technology is helping also change. What we are having today, 10 years ago, was not possible. This Zoom call. So that was that things are moving very fast. So our industry also is moving very fast. Today, we need to come up with products that appeal to individuals, trying to help us come up with products that appeal to different market segments. And it would require a lot of sensitive investment. So that sensitive investment is the catchword. And also, climate change issues in tourism is very relevant, community dimension, trying to make tourism more beneficial to the people. There is no point developing tourism when 98% of your people are not benefiting from it. What they have there, I think, will help us achieve that. So coming to that, I have something here to share with you. Now, this data is based on the latest study GT Board conducted. Now, going to the beach is 86%. Visit craft markets 69%, visit to natural sites 44%, visit to cultural sites 37%. All what you have here conform to the recommendations of the master plan. That's what I want to buttress. The 10 TDAs are designed to open up our product to appeal to various segments. Western River TDA, Denton Bridge going right down to, around Makasutu area, Mandinari, Kubune. I didn't see that here. So perhaps you could look into that because craft market concept is a bit outdated. We need to come up with something new. I was even challenging them. I said, the people before us, the planners came up with this. Let's also develop something to leave as a legacy. Create contrasting ambience at night. You can buy craft, but you can also eat, you can also interact, perhaps you can do some cultural entertainment, wrestling. So these are some of the things that I think I should share. On behalf of the GT Board, I would say thank you very much.
All the potential products mentioned are on the north. To have the North Bank or the South Bank featured as a tourist destination too, so that it can also link to the economy of that part of the country, we have to think about those potential tourism products that are on the south bank of the Gambia in the Central River region. There is one that birdwatchers, if there is anybody here with me, would say is already going near extinction, which is the only place where you can find Egyptian plovers in this country is in Basse. And that site, with the level of development taking place in Basse, there will come a time it will not be there. Where I am right now, I think this should be one of the main points out of the 10 or 12 points you have. That is the Sadauda Kairaba Conference Center. MICE tourism needs to be promoted in this country. Thank you very much.
It's fair to say that you've done justice to the task at hand. And my comment here is just to see how we can maximize some of the suggestions that we have already forwarded regarding the 10 sites that are suggested to make sure that it have a greater impact in terms of potential job creation, in terms of a greater experience for the visitors, both regionally and for our international tourists. I think some of the issues highlighted by my colleagues, I think if possible, especially the cluster way that we are trying to put the sites, I think will give us a greater impact. For example, if you look at the Janjanbureh cluster, the areas that are already included, they're really good. But if it is possible to include Mongo Park within the cluster, go to cluster, even though it's the craft market, and then the concept to turn it into a craft village, I think is very good. And the bazaar also, section of it, which is also very good because it's going to solve a lot of problems that we don't have, both not just for the tourists, but domestic as where families can go during the night and during the evening. I think that will also make a greater impact. The Fajara Golf Course was not part of the list, but as a cluster, I think we can look at it in total. It will add a better value to the whole of that cluster. And then you look at Fort Blend. Fort Blend, that is the North Bank one. Doctor is talking about Jinak. We'll see how we can include Jinak if possible. That can go up to Kubune. Then you have also Galoya and Makasutu, all these areas up to Ndemban, because these are all areas that you have a deficit and then come back. And then you look at all the possible linkages within these areas. I think it will make the clusters better empowered.
We do have niche markets well defined here in the Gambia, but not a lot of data on these markets from our traditional and non-traditional markets. In other words, our primary source markets and our investment markets, including we don't have visitor profiles yet. The good news there is that the project is working on hiring consultants to develop a national marketing strategy. It's very common to look at an asset that's undeveloped and call it a product, but we know that investment is required for product development and for experience design. We also know that the products that we have are in demand from the market. More and more travelers who tend to stay longer and spend more want high-quality nature experiences, wildlife and birding, cultural experiences, ecotourism, soft adventure, and mice. The Kenyang West National Park, in case there's not an awareness, it is being expanded to 19,000 hectares, which will increase the number of communities involved from 5 to 15. Looking at the Senegambia stone circles, I think we should definitely include the quarry in the cluster. In terms of the Bintan Belong tributary, it would be good to know from the consultants the soft adventures that they envisage for that area based on what the 2 eco lodges there are currently offering and undeveloped opportunities that exist. In terms of Albreda and Jeffrey, you can't separate Kunta Kinte Island. We know it's at risk, but it's a UNESCO site. People are going to continue to go there as long as they're able. We need the consultancy to estimate the level of investment for each of the sites that ultimately end up on our short list. Thank you.
This assessment exercise itself is an opportunity, so I would suggest if the consultant team could provide some suggestions for domestic tourism that package developers and tour guides could utilize.
Fort Bulen could be clustered with Albreda and Jufure with Kunta Kinte. Isn't it? They are all in the North Bank, and you start that tour from Fort Bulen. You could either use road or you could use a boat, and then you get to Albreda, and then you do Kunta Kinte. And they are all, the unique thing linking them, all of them, is that they are UNESCO heritage sites.
We are looking at future investment. We're looking at what government can put in particular places that will also help not only that place, but also the cluster. Deliberate that we were given sites to look at. But of course, in developing the sites, just like we did with Janjanbureh, we can also think of Kunkiling as a place where investment can come in, because that's the way we are thinking. That you can develop Janjanbureh, but Kunkiling is another area where you need a jetty, where you need other things. The real investment should go to this place.
Between the 10 sites that we've identified, you can begin to explore, other linkages. Mungo Park, as part of the product for Janjanbureh, I agree it's part of that. But if there is already investment going on with the memorial, which I believe is happening, it's one of the reasons we didn't think to include it now, because it's already addressed. Because we from the consultant point of view, we need some certainty because we now need to plan our next field visit.
Good comments we received from the stakeholders, which we are going to give to the consultants, include the fact that they should also develop a kind of a write-up regarding even those sites which are out of the 10 in terms of what they may be good at. But it's already there, as Simon mentioned, that they have given a wealth of information in the index that they provided. So which means then, just to summarize, that say Abuko Nature Reserve might be developed in this way, that way, then that becomes something, a little write-up that GT board might take up, move to the final stage of working on the 10 that we are agreed. And the only change in the 10 is that Fort Bullen has been dropped, but not exactly dropped, but has been like clustered with Jufure and Albreda with the Kunta Kinte Island, right? And in place of that, we have the Nyomi National Park, which is coming, and they will look at this in terms of developing it with respect to ecotourism and especially bird watching. So that's the idea. And so look at it in terms of the Tanje bird reserves and then develop something there. But apart from that, everything else is good, and the consultants have been applauded for having a very robust methodology and coming up with a very good report, which will really enrich the tourism policy and development of the Gambia.
For the Gambia, we all know tourism is very, very important. It contributes about double digits to the GDP of the economy, and as such, it's very, very important for the government because it creates over 40,000 employment, both directly and indirectly employment, and then it provides for the informal sector. It really supports our informal sector. Those are the taxi drivers, the fruit sellers, and all other key players in the informal sector of the economy. So as such, it is very, very important for our economic development, and especially this particular assignment that we are here to validate today, the 10 sites that have been identified by the consultants. I think those are very, very key. Currently, what the government is doing, we're trying to revitalize the river transportation system. I really thank the consultants and also the key stakeholders who are really present here for this remarkable achievement in this particular project. This is one of the heaviest resource envelope that the government of the Gambia received from World Bank, at the tune of I think $68 million for a period of 4 years. I think it's an opportunity for us to turn around our tourism sector, to realize the potential the tourism sector can offer to this country and also create more opportunities for our young people. Currently, we have a challenge as a government. We have a lot of our young people that are not employed. But with this project and other projects coming up, I think there is a lot of hope within the next 2-3 years. That will be a great turnaround in the tourism sector and all other tech sectors of the economy. On that note, I thank you very much for coming, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Some potential sites for tourism development include coastal areas with beautiful beaches and natural landscapes, historical sites of cultural significance, national parks, and nature reserves with unique flora and fauna, urban areas with thriving arts and entertainment scene, and adventure destinations with opportunities for hiking, water sports, and other activities. As regional competition to attract tourists intensifies, these stakeholders are confident that this thorough and transparent process will lead to the selection of top-quality tourism sites that will benefit both visitors and local communities, and that after today's engagement, the documents agreed upon will be successfully implemented to bring about the much-needed development in the tourism industry.